Time series. Okay, so in time series, basically the horizontal axis on all of these graphs here is just time going forward relentlessly and unceasingly, time going forward. And you can see you've got things like increasing trend, decreasing trend, structural change. It doesn't have to be an up-down. I mean, that's a structural change. Or uh, structural change could be like that. Anything is a structural change as long as you see a change in the trend. Irregular fluctuations. This example is irregular fluctuations with an increasing trend. Almost all real data has irregular fluctuations. So whenever you get a choice between saying increasing trend or increasing trend with irregular fluctuations, then you choose the one with irregular fluctuations, unless it is a ridiculously straight line like this. That doesn't happen in real data. This is what happens in real data. The big one that most people struggle with is the difference between cyclical and seasonal. So cyclical, as you can see, we're going up and down and up and down and up and down. Exactly the same as we're doing over here on the seasonal, up and down, up and down, up and down. But I think you can actually see what is happening here is that if we mark the peaks, they're fairly close together, but the troughs are like this. So peak, trough, peak, trough, peak. It's not that regular, is it? Whereas here you've got peak, trough, peak, trough, peak. So the spacing is regular. We call it seasonal because you normally expect that to be happening over seasons, and the examples I'll give later are all about that kind of seasonal sort of data. So you can imagine, ice cream sales are high and then they go lower, and then they go back up again for summer. So it's the regularity that changes cyclical, normal up and down, to seasonal, which is a regular up and down. Here's some genuine real data I just cut and paste from the Reserve Bank of Australia. So let's have a look at this data. Not good. So here we've got a decreasing trend with irregular fluctuations. That's the last time we had a recession. Good times. And then we had this sort of structural change. So we got a structural change happening here, and it's just kind of level with a bit of irregular fluctuation. And then we've got this decreasing trend here, which is our current situation. Horrible thing to note, but basically, last time we had a recession, we were up here and we had a long way to go before we got down to here. And it was like, oh my God, interest rates have plummeted. But we started this problem over here, and now we only got this far to go. So we didn't actually have as far to fall, which is actually a bad thing with the economy because you don't have much to respond to. Oh dear. Okay, here's some data I completely made up. The important thing to note is you can't say summer 17 as a number that you put on a graph or into a table or a calculator to do anything. You have to add what is called a time code. So you have to add a time code. So this is the first data point, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There you go. So now we've got a time code. So instead of doing the sales versus the quarter, we're going to do the sales versus the time code. Here's a lovely graph of that. Now you might notice that the peaks here are regularly spaced, as are the troughs. You can always do the troughs either way, it doesn't matter. You can clearly see that this data is seasonal. So you might say it is definitely seasonal. And it's not very obvious here, but there probably is some irregular fluctuations. So you might say with irregular fluctuations. I'm going to say that because it's pretty much every real bit of data, and this is not real data, would actually have irregular fluctuations. But is there a trend? It kind of looks like there's an increasing trend, and this is why you do a thing called smoothing. So here is that orange line on that graph is showing there is a slight increasing trend on that orange line, isn't there? So you might say then we're seasonal with irregular fluctuations and an increasing trend. All right, now the reason you do smoothing is to get rid of this down, up, down, up, down, up sort of situation, because that's terrible. I mean, you're going, oh my God, business is going really terrible. Oh, it's great again. It's terrible. It's great. It's terrible. It's great. And you're going, no. I want to know, like, what's the trend? And going, actually, it's going okay. It's just gradually creeping up is actually what you want to be saying about this data. And we'll talk more about how to do the smoothing of this data later on in some more videos. You'll notice also that one of the key things about smoothing is you lose bits off the end. This smooth line gets shorter and shorter the more you smooth.